Alright, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of What's This? And today we are taking a look at a game called World to the West. Now, I believe this is a game that is technically a sequel, or at least in the same story vein, as a game called Tesla Guard, that released a little while ago. But I forget exactly where I picked this game up, but I think it might have been from a Humble Bundle. But once I checked it out, oh, excuse the pausing here. I forgot I was just checking around. The controls, when you first start out, definitely need remapping. But when I got it, it kind of intrigued me because it's got this alluring 3D style. It's kind of not old school, but not new school, but it's still got some polish and flair here and there. But it definitely has a world that has this interesting grab. And this story is about your old classic adventure story, right? So you've got your four heroes, your four unlikely heroes, I should say, that come along and they meet under some unfortunate circumstances and some fortunate circumstances. It's kind of a raw deal for some of the characters, but I believe I will have to skip ahead in the video right now because unfortunately I don't get to go anywhere because I will let you all know right now, if you're going to be using a controller while playing this game, you will not be able to do anything until you map literally all of the buttons on the controller. None of the, like I use an Xbox 360 wired controller, so none of the controls by default are set up for this game. So that is one thing you'll have to get into unless you want to use a mouse and keyboard. I feel that this game is definitely more of a controller type game, but if you want to avoid that, you can by using a keyboard. So, I am just going to jump us ahead in time. Okay, so I've just jumped ahead to where the buttons have been remapped. I'm exploring what 3 means, because 3 isn't a button on the Xbox controller. It's just a number assigned to the button that you push, so I had to figure out what that is. So if you do reassign your button maps, make sure you pay close attention, because you will have to do that. So, right now, what we are taking control of the Teslamancer, which is one of the people from the original game, Tesla Guard, I believe. You don't get to explore too much of it right off the gate with this character here. But she is a Teslamancer, so she can kind of control things with electricity and go around with, like, blinks and shoot electricity later on. But her main deal is that she gets teleported away from her home. And this is her home, I believe, which might be in Tesla Guard or wherever Tesla Guard takes place. I'm not entirely sure because I haven't played Tesla Guard in the first place. But you can see that writing on the walls and chalk paintings and stuff are ways that this game will try and convey meaning to you. Along the blink course, the first few, you saw the little zappy bolts on them, and that was to indicate that you had to teleport or blink across these gaps with that little lightning bolt trail. See how you have that little, like, lightning bolt blink zap as you do? So that's a really good way that this game tries to convey, you know, skills have a certain set for doing certain things, but this game will also subvert those expectations later on if you become a little bit more smart with how to use your characters. There are definitely certain ways around certain things. You know, a little unconventional maybe, but still viable. Now, we are playing the daughter of one of the Teslamancers, Lumina, and she is now going to follow her little sisters to a place that they found. And this is a very interesting piece that this game teaches you, is that only Lumina can go through these dropped gates. The little sisters taught you by blinking through that you can go through those by doing that, but no other character that you get in the game can go through those gates. That is also a very, very ominous-looking old man, who's very spooky. Don't mess with him. You can also go through fences. Anything that kind of has that, you know, feel that maybe if something was incorporeal, it could pass through. Lumina can usually teleport through. And another part of this game is definitely the puzzle platforming. Well, I wouldn't really necessarily say puzzle platforming, but it definitely has puzzle aspects to its world exploration. It's quite linear for the first few bits of the game, but it definitely does open up later on. Now, I'm not going to be showing more than I believe the first 2 characters. I believe I only show the first 2 characters because this game, World to the West, has an interesting story behind it, and it's got a charm to it. This weird exploration to it that mostly only Metroidvanias can have. So if you like backtracking, you'll love this game. If you like exploring if you like exploring old areas with new characters to find different secrets in that area because that one character that you were there through the first time didn't have the tool set to get everything there, then you might love this game because this has a lot of backtracking in it. If you do not like backtracking, you will absolutely hate this game. This game is literally nothing but backtracking. The world isn't that big. It's not large. It's a moderately sized world, but each individual area has so much packed in it for each different character. And this is the moment right here where Lumina accidentally gets teleported away to a teleporter that the Teslamancers used to use, but no longer use anymore. And, of course, as everything happens, it's a one-way trip, because everything has to break on the other end for some reason. It's, you can never get lucky. So, she discovers that she's on the other side of a teleporter, and the machine poofs, breaks, and now she doesn't know where she is. If I would take a guess from the title of the game, I'd say she might be in the world to the west. But another aspect of Lumina is that Do I actually go look at that piece of slab? No, I try and blink through a solid object. That's cool. But that slab that had the lightning bolt on it, up to the north there. She also has her Tesla... Oh, get this. She has a Tesla staff. That's her main attack. But, come on. Go to the left, dude. If you go read those big slabs that have the lightning bolt symbol on them, Lumina is the only character that can read them, because she's the only person from her land. Everybody else that you meet in this game isn't from this area of the world, isn't from her area of the world, so they can't read it. They can come across it, but they'll be like, I don't understand what this means. So if you get Lumina and you go and find these places after you've discovered them with other characters, then oh, here we go. I finally read one. So our foothold is established and we are prepared to venture further into the forests. Initial scouting has confirmed large stone structures guarded by metallic entities wield impressive electrical power. Oh, I didn't read that second part. So they found technology here that surprised them. Sorry, I didn't realize that we had to press the 2 button to progress this early in the game. Once again, the controls take some getting used to because they're only numbers. So, once again, prepare for that if you're starting this game over. It will be something that is a small hurdle. A very small hurdle, mind you. You will get the hang of it once you start memorizing what buttons do what. Because eventually you'll just be like, oh, 3 means B. And so here we get the first taste of combat. Not every character, when you first get them, can do combat. Some characters prefer a passive route. Some characters aren't strong enough to even fight. Instead, they have abilities that allow them to run away, which is interesting. And not every enemy you fight will have this sort of health marker at the top. Only substantial fights that try and teach you something or teach you about a new enemy will have this arena-style camera-fixed combat with the blips at the top for health markers. There are also those little health hearts you can pick to refill your health. At the top left are the health... I call them health checkers, because they're squares and they're kind of in like a little checkered pattern. So I call them health checkers. But your little health blips up in the top left, they are there. And when you lose one, you'll lose one, obviously. And then you pick up a little heart flower, and you'll gain another one. So here we go. The Temple of Uh-oh, and she falls through. Now this is, I believe, where the chapter changes to Chapter 2, A Kid and His Shovel. So that was the end of the chapter for Lumina. Lumina has now successfully done her part of the story for now. So... but Hermiker said there was something here. I bet there'll be enough coal to get us dinner tonight for sure. I'm just going to read some dialogue for you. Hey, Knaus, you're small. Can you get through there? Can you go through there? Actually, I guess his name's not Knaus, it's Naus. But I'm going to call him Knaus. It sounds funnier. So, what do you see? Well, a tree. This is our second protagonist, Knaus, the boy in the green hat. There's a hole. Oh no, are we that close to the surface? Be careful, if you fall, you won't hit the ground for hours. So that seems irrational, and that's because these little children believe they're on the moon. They've been tricked into believing they're mining on the moon for moon rock and coal. So, Knaus now just discovered that they're no longer on the moon because trees aren't on the moon. Right? Trees and sunlight like that aren't on the moon, which is also weird because there's also water there. So But then again, these are just children, and they're being deceived. So Knaus is now, well, I believe all of these children are orphans. So Knaus is not now an orphan, but Knaus is an orphan. And his whole objective here is to try and teach these children and get them free from doing this work because they're no longer on the moon. Because they are being led by a slightly older child than them to do what is essentially slave labor here in this mine. And this mine is not its own section of the world. Like, you can get back to this place with any character later on in the game. So you can come back here and, well, you can't go to that tree grotto area with every character because only Knaus can get through the tiny little holes that other smaller critters can get. Now, there is one other character, Terry, who's an adventurer. She's kind of like your Indiana Jones type character from a slightly more civilized advanced technology civilization, and so she can get a few gadgets that help her around, but she is also another character that technically doesn't attack. She uses mind control to mind control critters and other beasts to help her maneuver around the world. Eventually, you'll unlock something extra for her. I'm not going to say much, which is why I'm only sharing 2 characters here, because I want this game to be a story for everybody. It seems... It doesn't seem like, but it did hit me with that hidden charm that I was looking for a game for a while. It's got an intriguing plot, and you want to know how all of these characters come together. That is a big thing going for this game, is you want to see how each of these characters make it and how all their stories intertwine, because they seem like the most unlikely of group of heroes, kind of like a Dungeons and Dragons game. I think that's why I like it so much. But just to the left, you can see a stick drawing of a child and a grue. The grues are those big black beasts with the many eyes and the big chompy teeth. So it's teaching you there that you probably should run away from grue. So, just little subtly. I mean, the characters, if you do talk to them, will tell you to run away from grue because, you know, grues are terrible creatures in this land. And also in other folklore as well. They will definitely eat travelers who go underground and into caves looking for treasure. It's a terrible, terrible fate to be eaten by a grue. So you can see that these children, they have tons of fears. They think they're on the moon. Ratrick tells us when the day is over because they can't see the sun. So they're literally working probably 16, 17, 18-hour days as slaves working for this Ratrick kid, who eventually you find out is working for the main villain of the game. That's not too much of a spoiler because you'll know as soon as you meet this main villain of the game that he kind of has his hand in every cookie jar. He's that kind of villain. So you go around. I was sort of happy when I got picked. I've never been to the moon before. I can't wait to go home and tell everyone about it. The other kids at the orphanage were really jealous. See, so that's your first clue that all these children are from the orphanage, and they had to be hand-picked. So they probably only picked kids that were, maybe energetic or healthy, and maybe not some of the kids who maybe weren't so good or not as... Maybe they didn't pick the smarter children. Maybe they picked some of the sillier children, and here I go trying to ask him for a shovel, and he just pushes me over because I didn't realize that I had to go over here for a shovel. Now, somebody had dropped dynamite here, and these kids are playing with it. I'm not going to say why, but that is amazing foreshadowing for later in the game. You will learn why. I also... you might have seen that little red beacon there. That is actually a health increase little module, a little node, that if you get that, and only certain characters can get those, it will increase that character's maximum health by 1 blip. So there will definitely be some characters that can only get certain health increases, and that's pretty good for the game, because it makes sure so that way the characters who have higher health in the beginning, like Lord Clonington has a massive amount of health because he is a fighter. He's a brawler type character. He's a big burly man with a big burly mustache, and he punches things, and that's what he does. He's literally your pugilist. He believes that everything you can do in life can be solved by punching it. That's just how he is. I believe he actually says that. He says, why, if you meet somebody who, poses a threat to you, I give you this one piece of advice. Punch them really, really, really hard. I believe he actually tells Knaus that later on in the game when they meet. And Knaus is told to take to follow Lord Clonington and take his advice. Now, I believe I do collect this good. I wasn't sure if I did. And you can see I now have 4 maximum health up in the top left. So that is your first indicator that those are what those do. You know, that your maximum health increases. There is also 1 extra collectible in the game. And there are, I believe I wrote this down. Where's my little sticky note that I wrote this down on? There are 36 lore stones to collect. So there are 36 very well hidden, well, not always very well hidden, but you will have to remember to come back with different characters to get them. So they are well placed and hidden in ways that require you to think and use multiple characters to get to. So some characters can break down barriers or open electrical doors with their Teslamancer beams, or punch down doors if you're Lord Clonington. And so that will unlock certain ways to get other characters farther in, and then those characters might be the only characters who are able to hit a switch. Now, one of Knaus's main abilities, as you've probably been seeing on screen, is the ability to dig through the ground. So he can't fight, but he can dig under things. He can only dig in loose soil, though. This harder packed clay-like dark gray looking soil that's on the ground, he can't dig through. His shovel won't go through it. So that's your first indicator that you can get past a lot of barriers with Knaus by going under them instead of going through them or around them or over them. Because that is a big factor to this game, is that there are multiple ways to get around, through, over. You have to use your brain, and sometimes, I even got caught a few times in this game, 20, 30 minutes not understanding exactly where to go or maybe what character to use, because you don't get all 4 characters to freely use until, I'd say, about 5 or 6 hours into this game. So I'm about 6-7 hours into this game, and I just got to the part where all 4 characters have finally met up and are finally joining and are actually setting out on an adventure together. And I think that's a testament to this game's storytelling, because as much as I wanted all of the characters to be together at the same time, right here is a perfect example of the Metroidvania. I can't dig under those, so I'm going to have to come back later on when I have something to smash those rocks or blow up those rocks or remove those rocks in any way. And I think World to the West's storytelling is so good because it makes me want to see these characters get together. I want to see what they do and how they interact well together. And you do get teams of 2 characters at a time. So you'll get, I believe it's Lumina. No, it's not Lumina and Terry. It's Terry and Knaus for a little while. So you have the little kid who can dig under stuff and Terry who can, mind control beasts in a little bit. And she can also use her scarf to whip at poles and then traverse over gaps by using her scarf as kind of like a little bit of a hook shot. That's why I like Terry so much. Terry has got one of the best movement abilities in the game because she can just run. She runs fast. That's what she does. She runs and she whips herself across gaps. So she's really, really good at traversing a lot of ground quickly. Everybody, I forgot to mention that, everybody eventually will have an attack maneuver, a special maneuver, and a movement maneuver. So Knaus's movement is shoveling under the ground. Eventually, he'll get a special ability. And he'll also get a second maneuver. He'll also get a second movement ability. I don't want to ruin what it is, but he gets probably one of the coolest movement abilities in the game. It's absolutely fun. It's just so flavorful, and you just get it at such an unexpected time. And when you get it, I literally just spammed the movement ability over and over again. Lumina's movement ability is fun with the teleport, but Knaus's is definitely 100% way better. I'll just let you know that it allows you to traverse over water. So he's the character that can literally just, I'm not going to say walk on water, because that's not what he does, and I don't want to give you the wrong impression, but he can just get himself over water. And here's when he's confronting Ratrick that he knows they're no longer on the moon. And this kid is trying to tell us we're not on the moon, that we're not mining moon rock at all. So he's definitely trying to stop this kid from spreading the truth and putting him to an end. So he's kicking him out to the Grooves. So basically he's exiling him from the mining operation to teach these other kids a lesson, to obviously keep them in fear. He's suppressing these children to use as slave labor. Don't worry, you eventually come back and you give this guy a good whapping. So I will spoil that a little bit for you. I mean, I guess it's not really too much of a spoiler, because I mean, you already saw there were other things to come back here for, so you're going to have to confront these characters again. But I just felt like I didn't want to leave you guys hanging on like a poor note. I never want the note to be sad. That you never want to end on a sad note. That's always a good thing. Never end on a sad note. So here we go. This is one of the examples that you can't swim. I just tried to take a dive, and I don't know why I tried to dig through the water. That seemed like a not a very bright move on my end, but now we are basically left to fend for ourselves outside of the mining colony, if you can call it that, more like the mining slave camp, and we will eventually meet up at the exact same place as all 3 other characters. That is kind of where the game is really, really cool, is that it will do these chapters, but not all of these chapters it will do these chapters, and all of them are happening at the same time. So, while Lumina is exploring her thing, Knaus is actually doing his part at the same time. And, as Lord Clonington gets docked at the city of Carte Blanche, he's doing his at the same time. And Terry, I think, is the only one who's doing hers at a little bit of an offset, but she's basically doing hers at the same time. Now, the reason why I snuck past those sleeping grooves is because, once again, Knaus does not have an attack yet. I believe he will eventually get an offensive action, but right now his shovel isn't strong enough, so all he can do is just dig under stuff. He can stun them, so you're not left to fend for, like, you're not completely without defense of yourself. If something tries to come and, take a bite out of you, you can just smack it and it'll get stunned for a little bit. You can dig your hole and get away. Another cool thing is that if you step over those bugs that come out of the plants when you dig under them, you can actually squish them and create like a little on the ground. It's a nice little addition, and it's kind of fun. Oh, but let's see, what else did I want to say about this game? Oh man, the music is fantastic. If you've been listening, hopefully I have this up well enough for you. The mines might not be the best place to hear the music, because a lot of times they're pretty quiet and a little desolate. The mines are definitely a lonely place with their blue colors and their kind of washed out things. Definitely a lonely place to be, especially when you're Knaus, because you are an orphan and now you have no one, and you're basically just left to fend for yourself and find a way. Poor little man. The art direction for this game is also, some people won't like this, but it's got a weird charm for me. I can't really place it, and there's my first indication that I can't defeat these things. I also can't pick up hearts while under the ground. The grooves will also try and dig you out. I don't know if they can actually dig you out, but that was one of my first little bits. I also tried to be sneaky and also tried to go back underneath the ground to dodge them. Did not work out well. I was not smart. I should have just went through the tunnel. And all of the tunnels around the world look exactly like this one, so it does give you that Metroidvania feel of if an ability works here, it will work here. It doesn't try and change them up. It will maybe match the colors and the sand or the rocks to the surrounding area, but it will most likely look very, very similar to that one area or the first one you got. Oh, I guess even big kids aren't safe from grooves, so that kid must have got trapped over there, or eaten over there, and so now he's got a backpack full of dynamite. And if foreshadowing is anything, yeah, you know what to pay attention for later on. And, like, that's what I love about this game, though. It's storytelling. Like, they pointed that out, and was like, oh, man, because it made it look like this is a dangerous area, but also, it looks like you can get back to that. Like, there's a Knaus crawling hole there, so you can get to that big kid's dead body later on. And yeah, you do eventually get Knaus's dynamite. You get him, so his offensive action is dynamite. I forgot that the game actually would spoil that for you. And I guess that is a little bit of a spoiler, but that's the only thing I'm going to spoil here, because the game did throw that foreshadowing, and I just wanted to use that to highlight how well this game does that. And panning the camera, something that I do not use, like, at all. I should really use that more, because the camera is quite close up and is pretty fixed, so panning the camera will definitely help you. Oh, and for the record, the 5 is the right thumbstick. Just, like I said, it can get a little bit disorienting with, the controls at first, but you'll get used to them. You'll eventually remember which button you press to do what, and you'll just stop, you'll just ignore the 2s and the 3s and the 5s that pop up on your screen. Or you can use mouse and keyboard. That is always definitely an option. I'm not going to say it's not an option, but to me, this game feels better with a keyboard, with a control pad, with a gamepad, with a controller. And here's our first taste of, like, you know, this door is huge, but it's also got a keyhole in it. So this is our first taste of sometimes things aren't going to always be in place for you. You're going to have to explore around. You're going to have to find keys. Like, up there was the key. I can't get that. Knaus can't jump. He can't traverse gaps. He can only dig under stuff. But there is that peg, and that peg is what Terry uses. And so this is Lady Tenok. And so she was expecting somebody else, but she says, oh, never mind, you're the small boy. No grand gestures then. And so, who are you? A very patient person, that's who. Do you know how long I've been here? A really long time? A really long time? Oh, that's what you said. The writing in this game is also a little clever. It does do some pretty decent things, and it has some good jokes. And so, these are the totem poles. This is a main aspect of the game. Why does it have my face on it? It has Knaus's face, Terry's face, Lumina's face, and Lord Clonington's face. And this is when the chapter ends, and we go to Chapter 3, The Mesmerizing Mercenary. Now this is Terry. Terry's design, I think, is my favorite out of all of them, because she's kind of got, like, the fluffy pants, but also, like, the adventurer's boots. She's got the scarf, the gloves. She looks like she regularly goes on adventures. And this is the main bad guy of the game, Mr. Tychoon. I think it's Tycoon, but I'm going to call him Tychoon, because I don't like him, and his name doesn't deserve to be pronounced properly. And up in the top left, you can see those weird, like, baboon creatures. You won't fight those until later on in the game, but they do provide a pretty decent combat challenge for Lord Clonington. And if you're wondering why his name is Clonington, yes, Lord Clonington is a clone. Not much is explained right off the bat of that, but it is definitely said that he is a clone. So that's all I'm going to say about Lord Clonington, because I keep going back to it, and because I just want you guys to know that this point is, this game's storytelling is absolutely fantastic. The map takes a little bit of getting used to, so I'm going to help you along with the map a little bit. When you get the totem poles to unlock, you can only fast travel there with a character who has visited that totem pole. So backtracking, once again, is a very, very huge part of this game, and if you don't like that, like I said before, you're not going to like this game. But for me, I find that super interesting, how a character who's never been to a place before can't go there. I also do find it a little weird that if all the characters can teleport around using these fast travel totems, why can't one person just hold the hand of the other? But maybe it doesn't work like that. Maybe it's only on an individual basis, because that's how weird magic works. But the totem poles are like your checkpoints. You can find them with any character, and you will have to find them with every character as well, in order to find a lot of the secret hidden lore stone. Yeah, the lore stones, that's what I called them before. The secret 36 hidden lore stones to get the deep meaning behind this game. Now, you can get the gist of the game, but I feel that if you find the lore stones, you'll get a deeper understanding of how the world came to be this way. So that's your way, if you want to find out more about the game, is to put your characters to the test, go new places, go to places you've already been, you know, change each character, do a bunch of different stuff. Like, you can be one character and traverse most of the world once you've unlocked a certain part of the game, but that's only because the other characters have been through there first. Like, a lot of paths are closed off until Lord Clonington, because he's got to smash through them all. He's just going to be like, you cannot stop me on my quest to prove I am the greatest. Pow pow, I shall punch through everything. And so Terry has the movement ability of sprint, which is why I like her. She runs, and she's got that cool, like, arm swing in the air, like she knows what she's doing, and her little scarf flaps in the wind, and I also like her colors of blue and yellow. I feel like, I just feel like she's kind of an adventurer, and maybe a bit, I don't want to say a bit of a loner, but she's definitely like, she doesn't want to take anybody with her on her adventures, but it's definitely a warm color for her. Like, she's not unapproachable. She will still be a good person and do the right thing. And it really shows later on that these characters will start to come together and start to have a little bit of human interaction. It's weird because you expect the writing for these characters to be like, oh, I guess we're in a team now. And I guess Knaus is a little like that because he's a child and he's naive. But when Terry and Knaus get together again later on after you've split and come back together, you know, they have a little bit of dialogue. It's like, oh, hey, kid. And he's like, oh, hi, Terry. Oh, I mean, miss. Because it kind of establishes that, like, maybe Knaus wants to be friends and he wants to, like, go on this great adventure with all these new people and friends and do good by everyone. But also they're adults or maybe a bit older and maybe they don't like to just be thrown into things with kids. And so it kind of has that dynamic of they are strangers. It's like when you first start out in a D&D campaign, and if you have people who aren't all good aligned, there is that object of like, oh man, they got themselves in trouble, but I mean, yeah, sure, we're all on the same objective, but do I really need to risk my skin? And here's Terry's main ability, the Scarf. Right now, all she can do with it is stun these little squirrel rabbit things. And so she can't do anything but run and slap. Eventually, her slap will get her the ability to mesmerize those creatures, and she'll be able to use them as puppets. So those creatures will have different abilities. Like, oh, this little squirrel's got a key, so I slapped him, bam, got that key, opened that door. So that teaches you that these squirrels can pick up the keys. And that's the best thing, is the game doesn't tell you with text, oh, Terry can use the squirrels to pick up objects for her. No, it just shows you. The game shows you through gameplay that the squirrels do that. Right? They can leap around. Their attacks are a leaping, bouncy thing, so that's what they do. They leap distances. There's one of the doors that Lord Clonington can only smash, so we have to wait until we have Lord Clonington. There's also a gate that Lumina can pass through, since she's a Teslamancer, so it's showing you right out of this main carte blanche hub area that there is a lot of things for each character to do once you get back here. And this forest may be looking a little bit familiar, right? It's where Lumina started, but it's not exactly where Lumina started. It's a little bit different. And I believe Terry's adventure comes to the old Blue Lady, Lady Tenok, a little bit sooner than everybody else. Now, I'm trying to look for secrets and stuff by wandering around. But, okay, here we go. I do go in. I was going to say I might have to cut out a little bit more wandering, but no. So, as you can see, Lord Clonington up at the top, he can smash through those bricks. But, behold, boy, the structure of many mysteries. So, this is Lady Tenok telling the kid, Knaus, about the totem as Terry walks in. So she's now gonna also get explained what the totem does. Or perhaps you just have one of those faces. So that was like a joke, like the face looks exactly like him, or maybe he just has one of those faces. I mean, greetings, traveler. You are very brave to have... Oh, save it, old woman. I'm not here for a speech. Like this old lady, I don't think ever gets to finish that. What? Oh, I swear you whippersnappers these days can't even respect a proper introduction. Well then, young lady, I suggest you take a look at the center of the room. Perhaps someone familiar will reveal themselves to you. So, remarkable. The likeliness is very convincing. All right, old bag, I'm intrigued. Why is my face on there? Who are the others? I thought that might get your attention. This temple was constructed many, many years ago. Your arrival was foretold, as was the arrival of your fellows. My fellows? I've never seen these people before in my life. So that's the context clue. Oh, I'm right here. Oh, who are you? I'm Knaus. Nice to meet. And then gets interrupted. So this is where the relationships start to form. And they aren't forced. Because sometimes one of the characters will definitely go off on their own and just leave the other character behind. They're like, yo, I'll go ahead and I'll see what I can do. And then you'll play that character for like an hour before you get to go back to the other character and get caught up with them to then use both of their skills to progress deeper into some area. Now, to find that artifact. So she's been, if you weren't paying attention to the dialogue because you were listening to me, I'll just get you caught up. She was sent here by Taichun to collect an artifact. Because she's a treasure hunter, that's what she does. She's like a mercenary treasure hunter, kind of like Han Solo-esque character. And so here's the first, bam. I love that whip, it's so good, it's so clean. You just whip it around and woo! So nice. So that's your first kind of taste that you're going to have to start platforming to find these keys and get all this stuff. It's not exactly your first taste, but it's your first taste with her. And once you find one key, you have to find if there's another door with the same shape, you'll have to find another key, because you have to place those keystones into the door, and the door slides down, so they're gone forever. And this is another fast travel totem, and I'm trying to figure out if, like, these weird buds, when they kind of open up and glow, will give you anything. But that's kind of like a really cool aspect of this game is... Sorry, not aspect, but an art style to this game is, like, you can hit those flowers and they'll open up and they'll give, like, a... Oh, as they open and they glow. So it kind of gives you this weird underground alien feel, even though it's part of this world. I just love the way they've built this world. It's quite enticing. So, okay, maybe I still need that key. So here's when you're taught that you can actually teleport between the two, because they just teleported in from here. What? Oh yes, these totems. Aren't they great? Gets you right where you need to go. No delays, no, no, no. Ha! That's a clever song! Oh, old lady Tennock, I like you. You are weird and creepy. Anyway, this room, eh? Quite a doozy. So, I think Lady Tennock sort of sets a lot of this up for these main characters, and you'll find that out as you go along, that she kind of gives them a little bit of guidance and pushes them along the proper path to kind of meet each other, and you'll understand why, if you play this game later in the game, everything gets sort of like an, oh, that's why it's all like this vibe. And it's not, I mean, for me, it wasn't like a, oh, really, you're going with that? But it was more of like a, oh, okay, so that's why she's kind of known everything's gonna happen the way it's gonna happen. And by those clues, you'll probably already figure it out, but whatever, I didn't say it directly. You're smart. If you're smart enough to figure stuff out like that, good for you. I like you. You're great. So yes, she's also using each of the characters' kind of motivations to get them to move along and work together, because... yeah, and don't call her an old blue hag. Come on, she's a nice lady. She's a little weird, but she's nice, Terry. Come on. So, teleporter. Use the totem poles to change character and go to totems your character has visited before. So this is the first instance where you actually have two characters to control, and this is where it gets a little bit difficult for me because I didn't have the controls set up properly, because the top squares you see there, you see like two big white squares at the very top, and at the very bottom right you'll see that there are two white squares. That's because I didn't button map those. So the reason I can't switch to Knaus is because I didn't button map them. So I am going to stop right here, and I'm going to skip just ever slightly ahead to where I actually have them button mapped. So this is about getting the end of the video, because I wanted to end it here before the next chapter, because I just wanted to leave some of the allure of the game. But changing character, you can only do at a totem pole. And if two characters are at separate totem poles, you will change to that character at that totem pole over where they are. So it kind of ties into that, if a character hasn't been to a totem pole yet, you can't teleport them there, you have to get there with them first. So it kind of ties in this whole, we're in two different worlds, but we're also in the same world. And I kind of like that. I kind of like how the characters can explore this world, but completely separately. And it gives it that vibe of, there's a lot in this little amount of space. Like, the world looks pretty huge here, but once you get into it, it'll actually turn out to be quite a bit smaller than you'd like to think. And so we're coming up at the end of the footage here, and I'm just trying to get the last bit of thoughts about this game, because I'm pretty sure I've encapsulated much of what I wanted to say about how good this game is. But if you've liked what you've seen on screen, and you've liked about what I've had to say about it, go ahead, please pick this up. It does take a little bit of getting used to if you're going to use that controller. Once again, I want to make sure that is 100% clear, but you will get used to it. Just make sure you have the controls down. And also, to teleport from totem to totem, you have to move the map screen around. You have to actually move the center of the map screen to highlight the other totem to teleport there. That's how it works. Also, you have to make sure you don't choose another character and then hit select before you do that, or else you'll change character and not teleport. That is a big, big factor to pay attention of, that it will take you a few times to get used to. But trust me, the game's story and the game's feel and just the overall music and atmosphere are 100% worth it. So I will see you all on the next episode of What's This Wednesdays on another Random Wednesday. Take care, everybody.